$32 billion for Wiz. And David Solomon is out here claiming 2026 is when the real M&A surge happens.
Oh, come on. Solomon is just talking his book. Antitrust risk shifting clauses just hit 24%. Buyers are terrified.
They are adapting. Private equity confidence is at a 6-year high. Blackstone is literally evaluating a stake in a cricket league.
That cricket rumor is objectively hilarious. But first, we need to unpack how Google actually got this Wiz deal across the finish line. The rundown.
David Solomon is practically doing cartwheels. He's calling for an absolute tidal wave of M&A in 2026.
I read the Goldman note. Monetary easing, fiscal stimulus, AI capital. It reads like a banker's vision board.
But PE dealmaker confidence is sitting at 86%. That's a 6-year high, Maya. The historic flood of dry powder has to go somewhere.
Does it though? Because I'm looking at the actual deal structures. Antitrust risk shifting provisions just jumped to 24%. Buyers are terrified of regulators. They're literally writing prenup clauses for when the government crashes the wedding.
Okay, sure, but look at Apollo. They just dropped $3.7 billion on Nippon Sheet Glass. Their biggest private equity play in Japan ever. You can't tell me the market is frozen.
I never said frozen. But Apollo buying a glass manufacturer is a distressed asset play, not a macro growth signal. Glass is incredibly capital intensive.
It's a classic carve-out strategy. Buy the boring stuff, optimize the supply chain, flip it in 5 years.
I don't hate the math, but let's not pretend it's some visionary leap. It's literally Windows.
Hey, Windows make money. Speaking of boring but lucrative, Jacobs just finished swallowing PA Consulting. $1.6 billion for the remaining equity.
Solid roll-up. And over in mining, Zijin is taking a $2.6 billion stake in Chifeng Gold. The global mining consolidation machine just keeps humming.
Gold, glass, and consulting. Oh, and dirt. Veolia is spending 220 million Aussie dollars on a soil remediation player down under.
Specifically for PFAS treatment. That's actually incredibly smart. The environmental cleanup liabilities coming from manufacturing companies are staggering. I love that deal.
You know what deal you probably won't love? Blackstone is apparently evaluating a stake in the Global Cricket League.
Wait, really? Cricket?
Yep, private equity is coming for the wickets.
I'd pay good money to watch a 23-year-old associate in Midtown trying to build an LBO model for a cricket franchise. How do you depreciate a batsman?
I'm sure they'll find a way. We're also hearing whispers about MasterCard quietly circling BVNK, $1.8 billion for a stablecoin startup.
If that drops tomorrow, it means crypto payment rails are officially mainstream again. We also need to watch Gilead. They're supposedly nearing the finish line on a $2 billion play for RO medicines.
The boardrooms are definitely busy, but nothing touches the absolute monster that just officially closed.
$32 billion. Google actually pulled it off.
The Wiz acquisition is final. We need to talk about how this completely rewrites the cloud security map. The big one.
$32 billion for a company that was founded 4 years ago. Just let that sink in for a second.
I am letting it sink in, and honestly, it makes perfect sense. Google is fighting a two-front war against Microsoft and Amazon, and their cloud security was the leaky roof on their enterprise pitch.
Okay, but $32 billion. Wiz had what, maybe $350 million in recurring revenue last year? You are talking about a revenue multiple approaching 100 times. That does not just make my eyes bleed, Nate. It makes a mockery of fundamental valuation.
You are looking at this like a value investor, Maya. This is not about the multiple. This is a defensive moat. If Google Cloud wants to win those massive AI workloads, they need airtight security. Wiz gives them that instantly. It is cheaper to overpay today than lose the AI enterprise war tomorrow.
I am looking at it like someone who reads the merger agreements. Do you know how much risk Google is taking on here? We are seeing antitrust risk shifting provisions jump to 24% of deals right now. Buyers are terrified of regulators.
And Google just blew right past them.
Exactly. They are basically daring the regulators to block it. I combed through the filings, and the concessions Google is willing to make to get this across the finish line are staggering. They are so desperate to close the cloud gap that they handed the Wiz founders the ultimate insurance policy.
Can you blame them? Every time I used to build a pitch deck for a cloud infrastructure play, the first question from the buy side was always about security vulnerabilities. Wiz is the shiny new deadbolt.
A $32 billion deadbolt. I hope it comes with a really nice key.
Oh, the founders of Wiz definitely got a nice key, probably to a private island. But look at the broader picture. David Solomon over at Goldman is projecting a massive surge in M&A by 2026. He is calling it out. Monetary easing, AI capital investments, a shifting regulatory environment. Google is just front-running the stampede.
Or they are just throwing cash at a problem because their internal R&D could not build a decent product fast enough.
Two things can be true. The ex-banker in me respects the sheer brute force of this deal. Sometimes you do not need finesse. You just need a giant checkbook.
Well, their giant checkbook is going to keep the regulators busy for a while. But Google is not the only one throwing serious weight around this week.
No, they are not. If you want to talk about unexpected pivots, we need to look across the Pacific.
Right? Private equity confidence is apparently at a 6-year high, and Apollo is feeling so good about the macro environment they just dropped $3.7 billion on Japanese glass.
Nippon Sheet Glass, to be exact. And trust me, the strategy behind this one is completely transparent. Voices. So David Solomon is out there waving the flag. The Goldman CEO says we are looking at a, quote, massive surge in 2026 M&A activity. He is citing monetary easing, fiscal stimulus, and AI spending.
Of course he is. He runs an investment bank. His job is literally to tell people that a surge is coming.
Oh, come on. He is not wrong about the macro setup. We have private equity dealmaker confidence hitting an 86% high. That is a 6-year peak, Maya. The dry powder is flooding the zone, the macro picture is stabilizing, and that capital has to get deployed.
I am not buying the pure optimism narrative. Look at the actual legal structuring right now. Antitrust risk-shifting provisions just jumped to 24% of all deals. 1 in 4 buyers is basically saying, sure, I will sign, but if the regulators block this, you are holding the bag. That does not scream confidence to me. That screams pure terror of the regulatory environment.
Terror is a strong word. I call it prudent risk allocation.
Spoken like a true former banker, they are terrified.
Look, they are getting creative because the targets are getting weirder. They have to put the money to work somewhere. Tell me you saw the whispers about Blackstone.
Which ones? The real estate stuff?
No, sports. They are reportedly evaluating a high-profile stake in the Global Cricket League.
Wait, really? Cricket?
Yes, private equity is literally stepping up to the crease. I've been waiting all week to use that pun.
That is terrible. But honestly, I love the play. It actually makes sense. Live sports rights are one of the few guaranteed cash flow streams left. Still, I will believe Solomon's massive surge when I see the actual term sheets, not just the conference quotes.
You might see one drop tomorrow. We are hearing MasterCard is quietly plotting a $1.8 billion swoop for the stablecoin startup BVNK.
Now that is a term sheet I want to read the footnotes on. Let us look at what else is on the radar for tomorrow. Spill the tea.
I'm telling you, Blackstone buying into the Global Cricket League is the most private equity midlife crisis move I've ever seen.
Wait, really? Cricket? I saw the rumor but assumed it was a typo for some obscure enterprise software niche.
Nope. Actual bats and wickets. PE dealmaker confidence just hit 86%. It's a 6-year high. They're literally running out of regular companies to buy with all that historic dry powder.
Or they're just bored. But 86% confidence. David Solomon at Goldman is predicting a massive M&A surge, but he's pointing to 2026.
Right, he's citing monetary easing, AI capital, the whole macro setup.
I completely disagree with Solomon's timeline. Why wait for 2026? The floodgates are already creaking open. Look at the whispers this week. Gilead is supposedly inches away from a $2 billion buyout of Oro Medicines.
Autoimmune plays are safe, though. That's just pharma doing standard pharma things. You want the actual spicy rumor?
Always.
MasterCard is quietly plotting a $1.8 billion swoop for BVN Key.
Ah, the stablecoin startup. Oh, come on. Are we really doing crypto mega deals again? I thought we collectively agreed to stop doing that.
We did. But MasterCard clearly didn't get the memo. $1.8 billion is a serious strategic flex. It's a pure infrastructure play. They want the rails, Maya.
I need to see the footnotes on that term sheet. I guarantee you half that valuation is tied up in bizarre earnouts. You don't just drop almost $2 billion on a stablecoin shop in this regulatory environment without some heavy antitrust risk-shifting provisions.
Which, by the way, are showing up in 24% of deal structures right now. I know you love a good risk-shifting provision.
It's the only thing that helps me sleep at night. Speaking of giant numbers and regulatory headaches, we need to talk about the elephant in the cloud infrastructure room.
The $32 billion elephant, tomorrow's radar. David Solomon is out here predicting a massive M&A surge for 2026. He's pitching monetary easing and AI capital to anyone who will listen.
2026? Oh, come on. He's just trying to keep his managing directors from quitting right now. I need to see signed agreements, not just dry powder hype.
The dry powder is real, though. Private equity confidence is at an 86% high. Speaking of actual deals, tomorrow morning I'm watching MasterCard.
Are they finally dropping the BVNK announcement?
Yep, $1.8 billion for a stablecoin startup.
Wait, really? I thought we agreed crypto M&A was dead.
Never say dead to a banker with a mandate, Maya.
Point taken. Also on my radar tomorrow is Blackstone. Gossip says they're evaluating a stake in the Global Cricket League.
Blackstone and cricket? I absolutely didn't have that on my bingo card. Do they even know the rules?
They know the rules of broadcast rights and recurring revenue. That's the only scoreboard they care about. Keep your terminal open tomorrow.